This is Mac Stories Unwind, the show that's all about the picks. Today's episode is sponsored by SaneBox. I'm John Voorhees, and I'm here today with Alex Gio. Oh, an appearance by Alex. How are you, Alex?
Oh, hey, John. I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. Well, Federico, we gave him the day off. He's not feeling super well. He's a little under the weather, but he'll be back. He'll be back soon enough. But we wanted to have Alex on to share his deep knowledge of iOS games, and we'll get to that in a minute. But I'm gonna kick things off today because see, the thing is, Alex, Federico always gets to go first, and I think it's my turn to go first, so I'm going to go first.
No argument here.
By executive order, I am going to go first. All right, so I have actually two picks today. The first one I want to mention is a very short one, but I would suggest that people should go and give Apple News Audio a try. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the Apple News app or service. I do use it, though, to get headlines of, just like general world news and U.S. news and that thing from time to time. But I was on a road trip last weekend and had a long drive home back to the Chicago area and kind of ran out of things to listen to. I wasn't really feeling like music at the time. I had downloaded an audiobook that really wasn't all that good. And I was looking for something to listen to and kind of occupy my mind and keep me alert as I drove down the highway. And so I remembered, Apple News. It's got audio in it. Because someone actually in our Club Mac Stories Plus Discord had mentioned this not too long ago. I forget who it was, but they mentioned it not too long ago. And I was really pleasantly surprised because, first of all, it's very, very well produced. It's along the lines of a highly produced podcast or an audiobook in terms of the quality. And they have a lot of variety, too, because what they've done is they've taken long-form stories from a bunch of different publications, and they're read aloud by a voice actor. And, there's a good variety there. It's not like a super deep catalog, but some of these stories, like I listened to one from the New Yorker about how governments surveil their citizens using technology, and it was an hour and 7 minutes long. So,
wow.
Yeah, so it's, there may not be a super deep catalog, but some of these stories are really long, so you can get a lot of listen time out of them, especially if you have a long trip like I did. So I listened to that. I listened to one about the legal side, the constitutional law implications of the leaked Supreme Court decision that is expected to overturn Roe v. Wade. That was really interesting. Just a lot of, a wide variety of things. They had stories on there about the war in Ukraine. A lot of it's very topical stuff, and it ranges from headlines like those as well as more general stories like the one from the New Yorker about surveillance. So give it a try sometime. It's quite good, and it's got CarPlay integration. So if obviously you can read it, you can listen to these on your iPhone or something like that, but you can also listen to them in the car, and it does a nice job of kind of saving your spot if you're interrupted because, we stopped on the trip for a little while to get a bite to eat, and when we came back, hit play, and picked up right where I left off. So
nice.
Very much.
That's awesome. I'll have to check that out for sure. I had no idea that they were doing that.
Yeah, it's very much in that sense a lot like listening to audiobooks. All right, now for the fun part. Kirby and the Forgotten Land, which is a Nintendo Switch game, okay? Now, I kind of like Kirby. Kirby seems like a controversial figure in the Nintendo canon of characters. Mm-hmm. And, I get it. Kirby is just kind of like this pink fluff ball, kind of cute. It's not a serious game by any stretch of the imagination. Although this one, Kirby gets sucked into a rift in the sky and ends up in a post-apocalyptic world, which is really kind of a strange thing when you think about it. Kirby in a desolate, it's desolate, but it's cute at the same time. It's very strange. Nature has retaken the land from, I don't know. I was going to say people, but there's not really people in Kirby games.
So it's a desolate land, but the nature has taken over.
Yeah, so it's like one of those post-apocalyptic stories where
I see.
Somehow civilization has ended, and you've got a bunch of ruins of buildings and things that have been overtaken by vines and forests and nature and that sort of thing. So
I like that vibe.
Yeah, well, that's one of Federico's all-time favorite vibes. People who listen to this show will know because he loves games and movies along those themes.
Yeah, it's actually similar to the pick that I'm going to have in a few minutes here.
Oh, that's true. That's true. This is not a hard game. This is not a challenging game, but it's kind of fun, and it's great for playing in short bursts. And I am a big fan of games that I can play in short sessions, especially for times when I get busy. And you can download a demo of this game. That's a nice way to kind of get a sense for whether you like it or not. It's got some of the traditional Kirby mechanics, like taking over the powers of your enemies that you suck in by, kind of breathing them in.
Classic.
Right. This is the first Kirby game that's fully 3D, so you've got that going too, which is kind of interesting. And then you've got this new thing called mouthful mode, which is where Kirby will ingest large objects and take their shape, like a car, or a traffic cone, or a vending machine. Let me think what else. A set of stairs. I'm trying to think of some of the ones from the early levels. Those are some of the ones that I've come across. There are a bunch more.
What do you do as a traffic cone?
Well, as a traffic cone, you can jump up and then slam into the ground with the point of the cone, which will open a crater in the earth and reveal stars and other things like that. Collectibles.
Okay, naturally.
Yes, so there are various ways to use these objects that you swallow to solve puzzles in the game.
I've never tried doing that with a traffic cone in real life, but it
No.
might happen.
Yeah, I know. And the eyes, Kirby's eyes, especially when he's has ingested the car, reminds me of the USB-C slots on the front of the Mac Studio, by the way. That's neither here nor there.
Amazing.
But once you see Kirby's eyes on the Mac Studio, you'll never unsee it again. But the game is basically an exploratory game. It's one, and which is a kind of game that I like for just kind of unwinding. The whole idea here is that the Waddle Dees who are in this world with Kirby have been captured, and you have to go find them. And so there's a lot of searching nooks and crannies trying to find these hidden creatures, as well as collecting stars and other things along the way. And then there are these little side missions, which are more platform-like, where you've got a clock running, you're trying to do it as quickly as possible, and do a lot of jumping and other things that require kind of precise timing and direction and that sort of thing. So there's a fair amount going on here. There's a Waddle Dee town. As you save these Waddle Dees, they go back to their little town and start rebuilding it because it had been destroyed in the kind of the opening scene of the game. And as they rebuild it, that's the place you go to use the things you've collected to buy various items to help you accomplish various things in the game further on. So it's a fairly deep game, I guess, for a Kirby game. It's, like I said, it's not super hard. There are two modes, and the wild mode, which is the hard mode, isn't very hard, and the easy mode, which I forget what it's called. It's called something like Breeze, like a breeze or something like that. It's super easy, but that's okay. I think that's all right with some games. It's just to have a game that's very chill, and you're laid back, and it has great soundtrack, a lot of color, really colorful game that makes it a lot of fun to play. And I've been, enjoying playing it for, I don't know, it came out maybe a month or so ago, maybe a little more than that. And I don't play it every week, but I've played it, in spurts here and there, where I'll kind of grab it late in the evening and enjoy playing with it. I guess the one thing that the critique I would have of it is that there are checklists of things you can collect on each level, and they don't really give you, there's not really a whole lot of incentive to go back and be a completionist. I mean, if you can do that, but it doesn't feel like the game really is pushing you in that direction. They're more just kind of like, you did what you did okay.
Right.
Time to move on and see what the next thing has to offer. And generally speaking, like, the reviews of this game were pretty good. I mean, Nintendo Life liked it a lot. I know Kotaku liked it a fair amount. Polygon was a little hard on it. They said it was cute, simple, and monotonous. And
Ooh.
yeah, I mean, I can't argue with that too much. I mean, it is a little samey. That's why I think it's helped by the fact that it works in short sessions. So
yeah, and sometimes that's just what you're looking for, a little bit of relaxing game that's not going to be too require too much thought.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, yes, it is. You wouldn't want. It's not the kind of game that I think you would have a lot of fun playing for 3 or 4 hours straight. But if you're looking to play for 15 minutes, half an hour, 45 minutes, that's perfectly good. There's a co-op mode too, but I haven't tried that. So, It's just there for the trying if you want to give it a shot.
Nice. I will. I'll have to check this game out. I kind of ignored. I've never played any Kirby games either, other than if you count Super Smash Bros. You made a good case. I feel like I could use a game every once in a while that is just nice and calming and not too much of a commitment.
This episode of Mac Stories Unwind is brought to you by SaneBox. SaneBox is your personal email assistant that automatically organizes your inbox, saving you loads of valuable time. SaneBox works with your existing email service, so your most important messages are always within reach. The rest of your messages are carefully organized into designated folders like Sane Later and Sane News. You can snooze emails too, setting them aside to deal with when you have time. Better yet, if there's something you never want to see again, drag it into the Sane Black Hole folder. It's far easier than trying to unsubscribe from multiple emails. SaneBox has a built-in reminders system too. Sane reminders are a terrific way to stay on task. Send yourself a reminder to do something later, or get a reminder when someone hasn't responded to one of your messages. Also, because SaneBox works with your existing email setup, there's no app to download and no email account to set up. You can use any email service and client you want. Sign up today for a 14-day free trial of SaneBox and take back control of your email. You'll see big benefits immediately as the message count in your inbox drops, and you'll be able to maintain control going forward with SaneBox's help. Mac Stories readers and listeners of this show can receive a special $25 credit automatically by using the link sanebox.com/MacStories. Again, that URL to get a $25 credit is sanebox.com/MacStories. Our thanks to SaneBox for their support of the show. All right, Alex, what have you got for us?
All right. So, well, speaking of calming and not too much of a commitment, my game actually falls very similarly into those lines, I think. This is a kind of classic iOS game. It's pretty old. I think according to the App Store, it's been on the store for 9 years. And I played it a long, long time ago. It's called Nanuleu, I believe, is how you would pronounce
That's
that.
a really hard. I was wondering if you would be able to do that because I wasn't sure I would get that name myself.
Yeah.
When you told me about this, and when I went to go look for what you were talking about, I clicked the link. I was like, "What is this game?" And then I realized, oh yeah, I did play this a long time ago. It's been so long that I'd totally forgotten about it.
Mm-hmm. So this game, the general idea is that it's a strategy game with a little bit of tower defense vibes, but not too. It's not one of those endless tower defense games or anything like that. There's a series of kind of challenges for you to play, and basically the idea is that the land is being invaded by some dark force, and you take control of these ancient magical trees and kind of have to use nature to fight back against the darkness and defeat it. So that's why I said pretty similar vibes to what you were talking about with the Kirby game there with nature coming in and defeating whatever terrible things are coming to destroy the land. This game has, let's see, 1, 2, 3. It's got 5 different modes. It's like a progression, levels, I guess. And, first it's kind of like the training level, and then the dark forces are invading and you have to kind of hold them off. And then once you've defeated them, the next level is kind of going more on the offensive, and you have to kind of grow your trees out really far from your central base in order to defeat them. And then at the end, they've kind of scattered everywhere, and you go hunt them down. And so all of these are just different levels. They're all kind of a set piece. You start, and you have to grow some resource trees in order to have enough minerals and water to grow your protector tree or your war tree.
Oh yeah, I remember this.
And then you have to build a root system out in order to kind of get the space to the next tree. And so you kind of start the game. You have some resources at the beginning, and you grow some more mineral trees and some water trees to keep upping your resources. And then once you have enough, you can move your roots out kind of towards the enemies and start growing the protector trees, which shoot little some sort of energy thing at the enemies that are kind of marching towards you and kill them. And then once you have enough protection up, you can grow your war trees, which actually produce these little characters that go fight back against the enemy. They kind of look like little ghosts. They're cute little guys. And then the last piece is that you can grow these life trees, which every time you grow one, you can only grow like 3 to 4 of them. They have to be in specific locations. And every time you grow one of those, they will eliminate all of the enemies on the map. And the enemies will like respawn from their main areas, but you can kind of get a respite from whatever advance is going on by growing a life tree. And so altogether, I really like this game. I liked it years ago when I first played it, and I've always kept it on my iPad and my iPhone in case I thought I'd maybe go back to it. I never full defeated it. Like I won, but there's rewards for each different type, or for each different like level. You can win the time award, which is where you win the level in less than 15 minutes, or maybe less than 12 minutes. I can't remember which. And then there's the reward for protecting these little shrines that you start with, that if they're destroyed, nothing happens. It doesn't matter, but you lose out on this little objective. And so I beat this game years ago, sort of, except I never succeeded in clearing all of those objectives where I, beat the same levels, but protected all my shrines, or beat the levels in under 15 or 12 minutes, whichever it is. And so I went back actually when I was on vacation a couple weeks ago, and on the plane, I picked this game back up and just played through those levels. And man, I really love this game. It totally still holds up. On the iPad, it's letterboxed, so there's, black bars on either side, but otherwise it plays great. On the iPhone, it plays at full screen, and still works perfectly, even though it hasn't been updated in a few years. And I just think that people would have a good time checking it out. And it's not too challenging. Like I said, you pretty much can defeat all of the levels in generally less than 15 minutes. And there's also a 2x thing that you can hit. So if you're kind of waiting on resources, you can speed it up to double speed, and then you can slow it back down if you want to go back to, planting your trees without having to rush too much. And yeah, ultimately it's nice and relaxing. I've had a really great time playing back through it, and I think people should check it out.
Yeah, this is just $2.99 on the App Store, and it works with both the iPhone and the iPad. So that's great. This is, I think, too, a good example and worth mentioning that, there was the recent story that Apple is cleaning out the App Store again and contacting developers who are making games and apps that haven't been updated in a long time, and giving them like 30 days to update their app or get them off the store. And especially when it comes to games, that isn't always a good approach, I don't think, because here's a game that, it's been 3 years since this got an update. And yes, as you said, there's letterboxing on the iPad because the screen dimensions have changed in the 3 years since this game came out, for your iPad at least. And that's, that's not great, but it's still a perfectly playable game too. And it would be a shame for a game like this to be lost, because I think you're right. I mean, what's nice about this game in particular, I think, and now it's come back to me a little bit, what this is all about, is there's a nice balance and variety between the different kinds of things you can do. Because you're right, it does have that tower defense thing going, where you're kind of trying to build out from a center and protect your perimeter from enemies, and keep resources in order to make that all happen and to fight back. But there's a variety of ways that you can do that, and it's all done from a kind of a interesting perspective, because it's trees. It's not little army guys or something like that. So pretty cool the way that game works.
Yeah, and I felt like the kind of the skill progression was pretty well done too. In the like, I was able to beat the game back in the day, but I did so without getting all of the objectives. And the objectives, especially the ones to protect the shrines, I thought kind of really refreshed the game for me when I came back and was like, okay, I'm going to play this game again, but I'm going to make sure to protect the shrines this time. And they've placed them in a way that you really have to build your root system out like way further than you otherwise would in order to get to the shrine and keep it alive, which really kind of makes it even more fun, because it renews the challenge of the game, I guess, because it's a lot harder to have the resources to get out far enough to get your defenses up around those shrines before they go down. And I just thought the progression was really nice. It wasn't enormously challenging, but it was also not easy. You know, I lost several levels while I was kind of gearing up and figuring out exactly how it worked again. And yeah, it was a really fun one to pick up on the plane. I actually played back through it again when I got home on my iPhone. It doesn't have iCloud sync, but that I actually kind of enjoyed that because I got to rebeat it on my iPhone, which I did that much faster because I'd already kind of figured all the levels out. But
Right.
But it was fun, and I just kind of like did that for a few mornings with my morning coffee, and we just played through a level or two. And yeah, I really like this game. It's a lovely little simple and kind of very good graphics in terms of like I just like the way these graphics are. Like it's a simple and kind of beautiful game. It's not like intensive graphics at all. They're very simple, but they're nice.
Yeah, no, it is. It really is a classic and one worth checking out if you haven't run into it before. All right, that's it for this episode of Mac Stories Unwind. Happy Friday, everybody, and thanks to our sponsor, SaneBox, for supporting the show. I'll talk to you later, Alex.
Sounds good, John. Have a good weekend.
You too.